I think one thing I realized with um, the plastic surgery, one thing I noticed with how it was wrong for me to get a tattoo or a piercing because I can't alter the body that God gave me. But it was okay to go get plastic surgery to enhance my natural beauty because what God gave me was not good enough. I always found that odd. I found it odd. And even something like braces. It's like we don't want to alter what God gave us. We don't want to like defile the temple of God. It's like, oh, we're just beautifying the temple. But what if it, like the tattoos and piercings are beautifying the temple? Like my piercing I have, I feel like I really liked it. Just really, really liked it. I don't know about a beautifying, but a making it cooler kind of thing. It's fun to play with, and it was just like, I don't know, made it better. And a lot of people like feel like their tattoos make their bodies more beautiful. I don't know. I just feel like there's a kind of a double standard there. We can't have it be both ways. We can't have it be plastic surgery is okay, but tattoos and piercings are not. Even so far as makeup. How is makeup okay? If we're supposed to be happy with the body God gave us and the temple God gave us, and we're not supposed to defile the temple of God by altering it in any way like that. It's like, well, makeup alters it. And hair coloring, hair cutting. Should we not even cut our hair? Where do you draw the line? Well, whatever's normal. Okay, well, normal changes. Normal fluctuates with whatever normal is now. And tattoos are way more normal now, so it's like God okay with tattoos now. I just feel like God is not so just kind of, I think God's okay with like what God's okay with. And I think we need to stop saying that God doesn't like things just because it's society norms. I think that we need to stop doing that for sure. Like, let's just make sure we know this is a direct message from God to the church. Because when I was a young kid, I thought that the two piercings in the ears was a direct message from God to the church, and I wasn't even a member of the church. That's just what I heard being on the outside of the church, on the outskirts, because all of my friends were members of the church. I'm pretty sure when that thing came out, I bet it was before 1996, or it was between 97 and 99, because I remember that. I remember that when I was with my one friends, I think, or at least I associated it with them quite closely. So it could have been we were just barely falling away from each other during the away times, during junior high school. But I feel like I don't know, tattoo piercing things. But then in the light of the plastic surgery, so I was okay with that. I was 100% on board with that. Don't alter your body. Great. That makes so much sense. I took out my piercing when I got baptized. I felt compelled to. I felt called to. And I felt like I should. The night before I got baptized, I felt like I should. And then, or maybe it was before I was meeting with the missionaries or something. There was a lot of meetings in between times. There was a lot of things going on. Anyway, it was very close. It might have been the day of my baptism. I think it might have been the night before I got baptized. The day of my baptism, the missionaries said, something like it's kind of standard that you take out your piercing. I can't remember what they said, but it was weird because the night before, I had a feeling that I should. And I love my piercing. And I just felt like I should. And it was just like, no, but I really love it. And so I'm just going to wear it up until my baptism, and then they told me that. And it was just like a double confirmation, and I did take it out, and I've never put it back in. I have poked things through it from time to time. See if it's still open. It was kind of gauged a little bit, so it's still. I don't think it'll ever heal fully back together, so that's cool. But yeah, and it was kind of a point of like thing for me because mostly children notice. Well, everybody notices, but mostly children will ask, "Why do you have a hole in your lip?" And I just say, "Well, because when I was young, I put a piece of metal through it." You know, that's not a lie. That's not glorifying the piercing, right? But it's just telling the truth, and it's just like, I don't know. But it's just not focusing on it. It's just giving a simple answer and moving on. And I just feel like, okay, well, that's just what we do. We just don't alter our bodies. But then I realized the plastic surgery levels are so high. I didn't even realize that until I was quite a ways into it. Maybe at least 5 years. I don't know. I feel like I didn't even realize that until like 5 years ago that people do a lot of plastic surgery. I didn't even know. No, before that, I knew about it. I think I first really realized it was a really big deal was when I was working as a cleaner. I was a single mom and I was cleaning, you know. And somebody I worked with said part of what they did was they helped people recover from plastic surgery because there's a lot of plastic surgery. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I think people do, yes, legitimately come to Utah to have plastic surgery done, but I think there's a reason why there's a lot of plastic surgeons in Utah. I think that anyway, there's just a lot of plastic surgeons and good ones there. And so I think that, like, it's because I think the Mormons legitimately just get a lot of plastic surgery. I mean, I don't know. I would be really interested to know the rate. Well, obviously, I'd be interested to know who's done it, but I mean, that's a privacy thing, you know. If people don't want people to know, fine. I don't care. I don't care to ask, and I don't care to like look and try to figure out or anything. I don't care that much, but I'm just interested generally because why is that okay, but piercings and tattoos are not? It's just what the trend is. So that's like, is that what God wants? We'll just follow all the trends. Is that real? I mean, maybe sometimes. Maybe that's the answer. Is sometimes. Sometimes we follow the trends. Sometimes it makes sense too. Just practical. Practical church. We're a very practical people. We're desert people. We have to be effing practical. That's just in the culture. Very practical. And we do very well with the practical stuff. We just need to get away from the mammon, perhaps. I don't know how to do that effectively. I think we just pull out. I think we just pull out of the stops. We just be like, okay, we're not doing that anymore. See you later, bye. And then, you know, let the chips fall where they may. Do as what is right, let the consequence follow, kind of thing. I think that will catastrophically impact the financial system. If we just leave it, if we leave the financial system. Is that fair to do to people? Is that fair to do to everyone? Like, we're already so far in it, like, we're crucially involved and needed for the whole thing. But I mean, everybody says they want to collapse. I don't think people really realize what they're asking for. I don't think people really know what's going on in like North Korea, you know. Maybe it'll be different here. Maybe people will work together. Because here's another thing. I read a book about North Korea, but I read a book and it talked about people going to work in the farms and just kind of shirking the labor. And I was like, oh, well, like that system would work though if people just didn't shirk. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's people's nature to shirk. And so you will never be able to do utopia. And it's like, well, why is it people's nature to shirk? I don't know. Do I shirk? I don't shirk. I stay busy. I like to stay busy. I don't like to just sit around. I like to be doing something. If I'm going to be watching TV, I like to be crocheting or doing something with my hands, something. I don't ever really like to sit. And I find that interesting in the book East of Eden. The women came over to check what she was doing with her hands. And I found that very interesting and very like, what John Steinbeck knew about some things, you know? I don't know, back then in those times, nobody would even think of that now. What are you doing with your hands? I don't know, looking at my phone. I don't think people realize the amount of work it takes to keep going on a farm. For example, when we lived on the Amish farm, when we lived Amish, we did not have electricity. And I was doing cloth diapers. Okay, as you should, you know. Flats and wool, of course. And a flat situation that I invented was a pre-fold. It was like a pre-fold, it's all folded up picture of your pre-fold, right? You sew it to make it into a pre-fold. Well, then picture you don't sew it, though. It's just all folded up. And that was what I did. And then I could open it up, unfold it so it would wash better, wash cleaner, like a flat, right? I called it an unfoldable pre-fold. It was the ability to unfold, but then the better name would be a foldable pre-fold. I don't know. I couldn't think of the word. There was another one I had an idea. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point is, I was doing flats and wool in the Amish house without electricity, homeschooling, the whole thing, but I had a car and I had running water, pressurized from the city. We also had a wood-burning hot water heater, but it's dangerous if you're an idiot, so don't do it if you're an idiot, because things get pressurized. You don't want to deal with scalding pressurized water, you know, if you don't have the proper vents and things. So you got to have, like, a system. You got to have, like, maybe something that's already going, so you remember all the pieces, or you're, like, really sure, because if you pressure, that's stupid. So don't do it if you don't really know. So anyway, we had one already made that the Amish were actively using when we moved in. And they showed us how to use it, and then we used it, and it was like, all right. And they gave us a warning. They're like, all right, so one time, our brother, you know, he lit the water heater, and he left, the damper? He left little holes open too long all day while they were at church, I think, or it was overnight, maybe? I don't know. It was for a long time. He just left the holes open. So what happens is you get a lot of air running through really fast, and your fire gets blazing instead of like your fire just kind of like burning and lasting throughout the day, just kind of like slowly heat up the water, right? It just gets extremely hot in that barrel and heats up the water like super fast, supercharged. It's like a water jacket around like a barrel of fire. And it was just like this raging inferno. Anyway, they came home and the water heater was broken. It was like all bulged out and crazy looking, like it had like popped, like this steel drum basically had just like, it was like wild. It was like, whoa, that's dangerous. I was like, oh, they're like, yeah, you know, be careful. And this kid was probably 10, you know, it was just like, oh, okay. It just are okay, you know, life's dangerous and kids are smart and kids, I don't know, more or less are okay. So anyway, those kids were so capable. One time, our friend, she was 16. We hired her as a maid to help me with my youngest when she was born. And so we would talk. She said that her mom said that she was like, what was it? Like she would never survive in her day because the amount of work that she had to do compared to what her children have to do is like so less. And I was like, what? She is so much more capable than any teenager I've ever met in my life. Like, she just gets life. She's a very capable young lady, and just like smart, funny, and like, I don't know. It's because she did a lot of work. She knew how to work. Anyway, so the water heater was already ready to go, and we came with some warnings, don't make it too hot, blah, blah. And we just could look at it, and I mean, I'm kind of handy, so I could kind of look at it and figure it out anyway. It was like, seemed good. We tried it, we did it. They showed us, and it worked. It was cool. We had hot water, and you did one burn would last a day and a half, 2 days sometimes in the summer. The winter, sometimes a day, but at least a day. We'd have hot water for a whole day for like 3 sticks, maybe 3 inches in diameter, maybe 4 inches. Little kindling, little kerosene. The kerosene too. Oh man, I got lazy. Like, I got in the habit of the kerosene too. You're not supposed to use kerosene to light a fire. Man, it's so handy. So dang handy. Pretty dangerous though. One time the kids were cooking. Also, our outdoor kitchen was made out of mud. Me and my daughter, who was 4 or 5, I think she was 4 when we made it. We made a mud oven, just like a stove, just like a burner, just a single burner. Just, I guess, I mean, people say rocket stove, but I think it's basically a stove. Like, the fire's on the bottom, and the burner is also the chimney kind of thing. I think we made an air thing on the side at one point. We like modified it as we went, but it was good. So that was our outdoor kitchen. That's what we cooked on all summer because we didn't have electricity. We also didn't have propane or anything like that. We did have propane, but then it was like, oh, we really can't hook up like one of those stoves. It's not safe to hook up like a camp stove permanently just in your house. It was like, oh, dang. From like the main line from that big tank. So we just didn't do that. And we just used wood and we just cooked outside. And anyway, in the summer, one of the kids' jobs for my little homeschool group we had going on, the teenagers, they were supposed to be the cooks. They were part of school was lunch. Lunch was the subject. And they were buying food from the grocery store, doing the shopping themselves, talking to the cashier and paying for it and learning how to do that system, figuring out a budget because I said, okay, your budget's $50 a week for lunch. 3 teenagers, plus I had a few other little kids. And they came up with the recipes too. They came up with the recipes, they had the budget, they came up with the recipes, and there's some criteria. It's like it had to have a vegetable and it had to have like a protein. It was like it had to have certain things because some kids were kind of picky. So they could pick the protein and the vegetable. I think those were the criteria. Sometimes I said like fruit, maybe you could count as the vegetable. So then they made the menu and they made with the budget, they did the shopping, and I took them in the car and they could listen to their music on my loudspeakers. They chose songs, they rotated, And I tried to steer clear from like the profanity, like with the really bad, like the really explicit rap songs, We weren't allowed to do that, but anyway, so we took them to the grocery store once a week. There's like a shopping day. I think we did it during the day during homeschool, maybe we did it in the evening. I think it was supposed to be done during the day though. The original idea. And then they made lunch. And so then every day, also part of homeschool, like lunch involved cooking on this outdoor stove. It's just like a wood thing, just the chimney of a little tiny oven. And it was so tiny because I was like, my idea was it's going to use so like little tiny sticks, and it did. and it was great. It was like super efficient that way. I didn't have to burn like giant logs in my indoor oven and heat up the entire house. Anyway, it was super efficient. We just used the twigs. We cut down a tree and we just stacked up the little twigs in the shed there, in the wood shed, the kitchen, the outdoor kitchen shed. And then we just like broke off the branches and used those to cook with. And it was really, really efficient. It was super good. But the fatal flaw of that design is it's so annoying to cook with little twigs. Yes, you can cook with little twigs, but you have to be constantly be feeding the fire. You have to be constantly on it. You're constantly there snapping twigs and feeding them in. Like, pretty much. I don't know. It's going to take a long time, but it's a process. So that was a little bit of a flaw. If I were going to make another stove, I'd make the firebox a little bit bigger so it could accommodate like a 2-inch stick, something a little more substantial than little twigs. But anyway, so part of the teenager's job for the homeschool was to cook lunch, right? Cook. And you think, oh, cooking, perfect. But this is cooking on a mud rocket stove outside. And like, they had to figure all that out. And they would prepare the food inside and take it out. Anyway, so they would be out there cooking, mostly unsupervised. They were pretty good at it. I taught them how to use it and stuff, and they were pretty good to go. They liked to go out there and hang out and talk and make lunch, and then they'd bring it in and we'd all eat together. But I didn't realize they were unsupervised out there, and the kerosene was out there because I use kerosene to light my fires because I'm super lazy, and kerosene's so convenient, so nice. I even put it in a spray bottle sometimes, and I know that's really quite dangerous, but that's what we did. Anyway, I had the kerosene out there, and they thought that it was oil, like cooking oil. So they got their pan hot, the cast iron pan on the chimney of the stove, the burner. It's just an open flame, and they're heating up the pan. And they said they went to pour oil in the pan, to start cooking their food. Or maybe they cooked their food, then they needed oil somehow. At some point, the pan was super hot, and they grabbed the kerosene and poured the kerosene into the pan, and they said the fireball went all the way up to the roof of the wood house, and it was like, you guys, like, that's a little dangerous. That was a little dangerous. So, I mean, all's well that ends well, right? I mean, that's what our ancestors would have said and stuff like that. That's dangerous. Life is dangerous, right? But people don't realize the amount of work it takes to maintain, because it's like, well, why weren't they supervised? Well, do you know how much work it takes to maintain a lifestyle without electricity, and to maintain a farm, without electricity? It's quite a lot. And people are like, well, we're just going to do this war. We're just going to do this thing. We're just going to, fight each other, and then life will be better. And it's like, well, you don't realize how much work you don't do. You don't realize how much work it takes just to do laundry. Like, you don't realize how easy it is to throw your laundry into a washing machine. One piece of good news is, though, there's workarounds, and we're clever. We can make maybe bike-powered washing machines. That would be really great. If you could just make a spinner with a bike, like, you could wash your clothes by hand, but it's the wringing that takes forever, and the wringing that is hard. If you could scrub and wash, you could pump it by hand, but if you could just hook up some gears to a bike and just bike power like a washing machine on the spin cycle, and just use that, like the transmission or something, I'm sure that could be rigged up. And then that would save you a ton of time and effort on washing clothes. You could be like the laundry people of the block, because that would be a huge improvement to wringing. I have a wringer. I have a couple of wringers, and wringing is hard. One time I told the homeschool kids, come on out, you'll see how strong you are, because they could do more pull-ups than me, right? I could do a sum total of 0 pull-ups. I can do 0 pull-ups, and I can hang from the bar for like way less time than them. We used to do that part of homeschool, part of our physical education. They do pull-ups and hang from this pull-up bar we had, do contests and stuff. Anyway, they could beat me, but when it comes to the muscles of doing laundry, you take them out there, they could hardly wring it out. It's hard to wring out laundry, especially when you're wringing out laundry for a family of 5 to 6. Plus, you're doing cloth diapers. Like, it's a lot of wringing. It's a lot. And even the Amish girl was like, what are you're, this is insane. This is a lot. Like, they would do, they had an electric wringer washer. So one of the old style with the wringer, with it when electricity came into fashion, you know, and wringer washers were still in vogue and used. And the wringer was attached to the washer on the top. And then it was just a motor and it would just pull the clothes through. That's what they used. They usually had a little generator and to the wringer washer. That was smart. Like, if you could get a hold of a wringer washer with a generator, that'd be the best of all, wouldn't it? Because it's not a big deal to hang laundry out to dry. But, you know, all these little workarounds, all these little improvements. But at the end of the day, you could do laundry for your family of 5 to 6 by hand, 100% fully, without electricity if you really had to. It takes a lot of time. Laundry became, but if you are also using modern day clothing techniques, you know, where children wear an outfit and then they change their outfit often, sometimes in the day, that uses a lot of clothes, or even just to change an outfit once a day, you know, like Ma and Little House, they were washing clothes, I think once a week. I think they had 2 outfits or 3 outfits. And then they would just wear their same outfit every day. They hung it on a hook, on a nail. And they were to air out at night. And that's why they wear pajamas to bed, because the pajamas keep the bed clean. Because your dirty dress that you were outside doing all your farm chores in, you get dirty. You get so dirty on a farm. Everyone's like taking baths every day, but they don't realize how dirty you get when you are working without electricity on a farm. Like, you get dirty. So we would be taking baths every day in the summer, especially just because we were so dirty. Like, we were dirty. I don't give my kids baths hardly ever. Everybody knows that. But like on a farm, I give them a bath often because it gets dirty. Like, you're actually dirty. Like, it's dirty, dirty. Like, really actually dirty. So anyway, your clothes are also very dirty. We're very dingy, and I was making laundry soap too. So everything was a little dingy, a little dirty, but a good time, a really good time, and learning and understanding. And it was just a lot of work. So what I'm saying is, when we're thinking how exciting the new life is going to be, think about the sheer amount of work that it takes to maintain. And so you want to get out of work. Their work is important. Work is essential. Work is critical to our lives. Like, we cannot get out of work. We don't just get things by the sheer act of just being alive. It's not like we're just owed life. We're not owed anything just by being alive. We're born. Our parents mostly care for us. Most of us have mostly cared for us and brought us up into here. But then it's up to us. We're not owed just a living just because we were born. That's not a thing. That's not a thing in nature. That's not a thing that's ever been a thing in nature. That's a human construct. And so if that human construct goes away, if those social safety nets go away, things are going to get catastrophic pretty dang fast. And so does the church. Or does anybody owe their brothers and sisters the decent benefit of maybe a warning before they pull out the stops of, like, we're going to get it the heck out. But then a warning could cause catastrophe in other ways. So maybe we just need to do it without warning, and everyone just needs to realize and take the accepted risks of being alive. And when we're alive, and there's an inherent risk of being alive, you know, we all need to be preparing for things. And there is a human construct where we think that we can be owed a lifestyle that we may not realize is not really a common lifestyle amongst the plants and animals of the planet. The lifestyle of luxury that we enjoy. It's a lot. We have a lot, but we could make it good still. We could do a little workarounds and gadgets and things to make things good. So my prescription of what you should do, stock up on gadgets. Make yourself feel better, just stock up on gadgets. I think that's one lesson we can take from Adventure Time. When the old man Mertens is there on Adventure Time Islands, he's there and he's like, they're like, oh, we have, what do they have? They have numbers in our screen. We have currency, we have money, we have notes. I can't remember what they called it. We have like things. He's like, no, I don't do that. I don't do that. I take gadgets. So the gadgets are the cool stuff. The good workable gadgets, things that are quality. That's why we need to work hard, so we can have quality things. That's the point of work. That's what we're doing. That's why you get to have cool gadgets, is because people worked on it. But if everyone just kind of shirks, then everyone's stuff gets worse. And nobody has any cool gadgets anymore. Nobody has things to make their life work. And if you think you don't need gadgets to make your life work, think again, because you probably don't even have a ringer. You probably don't have a ringer. You're going to be just using your hands on your blue jeans because you're a modern day person and you wear blue jeans. I don't wear blue jeans anymore. I wear leggings and like a tunic, thin tunic too, made out of a bed sheet because that fabric's cheap. And I can wring that out by hand if I need to, and it dries quicker than blue jeans. And the blue jeans are going to be all crusty because you don't know to use even vinegar in the rinse. You didn't know about that, did you? You didn't know that that stuff is important. And yeah, the dresses are practical. A practical garment as long as it is not too long. The fashionable dress that's super long, I think that's less functional. Like to the knee is pretty dang functional. But anyway, maybe you knew about that. Maybe you have a ringer saved up. Maybe you did that because you were like, oh yeah, maybe washing machines are going to go out of style because they're so crappy. Because maybe you worked in an appliance store and everything's getting crappier, like planned obsolescence. And it's like, well, this can't support itself. This can't work forever. This is so wasteful. Why would people want to be wasteful? Why would people want to shirk? I don't get it. I don't get it when the whole system's depending on each of the individual people to do their job and to do it well. Like whatever job you do it well. Do your job well. It's your job. It takes all of us to do the thing together. And if you shirk, you're ruining the system for everybody and for us all and for you too. It might help you in the exact present moment, a little shirking. I know everyone has to do it sometimes. I know I've not been 100% perfect. We're not perfect cogs in the machine. We're not cogs anyway. We're people, right? We don't want the maximum efficiency. I think I've talked about that before, that maximum efficiency might not be the ultimate goal, but like we need some efficiency to have the cool stuff so we don't spend our entire lives doing laundry and working in the fields to produce crops. Like, yeah, some gadgets make life a lot easier and make a lot of sense to continue doing, but we need people to work on them. We need people who know how to work them and how things work so we can get things working, you know?